Hello. So a lot of people want to know what's the difference between a PA or an NP, a physician assistant or nurse practitioner. The truth is that the main difference is how you get to become a NP or a PA. But once you become that, there's not a huge difference between them. Most employers will hire either a NP or a PA, whoever responds, and they are not so different from each other. The actual difference between the two, aside from schooling, is that a PA can work in anything that they want to, in any area that they want to. And this is called lateral mobility. So if you want to work in dermatology, or if you want to work in cardiology, or if you want to work in the hospital, or if you want to work in a doctor's office. NP, on the other hand, has to choose what population they're going to work with, what population focus they want to work with. So either it's kids, pediatrics, adults, gerontology, women's health, or more broad, family nurse practitioner, which really covers most of them. But you do have to choose something when you're becoming a NP. Also, there is a little bit of a gray line with the second thing, but NPs often have to choose between primary care and acute care. Now, there's a gray line. It could be you can work in both, but a lot of places make you choose not only your population focus, but whether you're going to work in primary care or acute care. So that's really the main difference between an NP and a PA once you come out of school. There can also be a difference depending on what state you live in that a NP can work in some states independently, and if you're a business-minded person, then you might like that and might want to open your own practice someday. Although it's a very difficult thing to do, and you're gonna have to worry about your staffing, billing, and everything. But if you want to do that, an NP allows you to do that in certain states. Certain states have more restricted, certain states have somewhere in between. And it does seem to be that more states are allowing NPs to become independent. But a PA, as of now, is in all states not allowed to practice on their own. They need some sort of relationship with the doctor. It doesn't mean that they're going to be speaking to the doctor very often or even be physically next to the doctor, but they do need some sort of legal relationship with the doctor. Now, those are the two differences between NP and PA, but other than that, they really have a similar job. The main difference is how you become a NP or how you become a PA. So an NP has a lot of options, and a PA is more standardized. To become a PA, you have to have the prerequisites that usually will come with a pre-med degree, but not specifically. You also have to have a certain amount of healthcare hours, which could range from 200 to 2,000 hours, usually somewhere between 200 to 1,000. But once you have your prereqs, your healthcare hours, letters of recommendation, then you apply to PA schools. Generally, most PA schools you apply to through one website called CASPA, and through there you submit your grades and the classes you've taken and all the supporting materials, and that's how you apply to most PA schools. NP schools, on the other hand, have a lot of different ways to get in. So NP school is different than PA school. PA school is entering after getting a regular college degree. NP is really essentially an advanced practice school, an advanced practice for nursing school. So a lot of NPs will have been nurses for many years beforehand. And to become an NP, even if it's not required for your school to have nursing experience, you do have to be a nurse before you get your master's in nursing, which is the nurse practitioner degree. So the way to enter NP school can either be through having a standard Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, a BSN, and then you apply for your MSN, to get into nurse practitioner school. But then there's also bridge programs where if you have an associate in nursing, you can go from bridge between the associate in nursing to the master's program. There's accelerated BSN where you have a bachelor's in something else, and now you get a second bachelor's in nursing through an accelerated BSN program, which is usually very intense. And there's also direct entry programs where you don't have any nursing experience, but they'll take you in and teach you to become a nurse, and then you'll eventually become a nurse practitioner and go through the schooling for nurse practitioner. So there's a lot of different ways, for better or for worse, how to become a nurse practitioner. And as I said before, the different states allow for different things, a scope of practices for nurse practitioners. So nurse practitioners is a little more diverse all over the place versus PA, which is more standardized, which may be a good thing because you can tailor where you're up to for NP, whereas at APA, there's one way to go about it. So that's how you get into nurse practitioner schools versus PA schools. Then within the schooling itself, there's also a difference in that nurse practitioner schools is still following the nursing model. So you spend a lot of time learning about preventative care, how to prevent not just the disease that the patient is coming to you and asking you to help them with, but how do you prevent it from happening again? Looking at, are they a healthy patient, and those kinds of things. Whereas a PA is more based around the medical model, and they're focused on whatever the patient's complaint is, how do I fix that? And that's it. So a nursing model is more comprehensive, and you'll spend more time writing papers, I think especially if it's online, if you go to a nurse practitioner program, whereas if you go to a PA program, you'll spend more time in the classroom or in the clinicals, but more focused on the program at hand. There is a crossover between the two, and everyone's kind of teaching a little of both models, which is good. So it's not really the end of the world which one you choose, because either way you'll learn some of both. But some people might find that if you come out of PA school, you might be a little more prepared for figuring out exactly what to do versus someone who comes out of NP school. Both of them you won't know a ton of things, and both of them you have a lot to learn. But a PA goes through 2,000 clinical hours while in PA school, whereas an NP doesn't have that many hours and may not feel as prepared on the specific disease. That being said, either one is going to learn and figure it out, so it's not the end of the world. But the difference between them may be a result of the NP schooling versus PA schooling. Aside from that, they are not extremely different, and either one is really fine. If you're trying to figure out which way you want to go, something that some people do is they say, do I have a nursing degree or not? And if they do have a nursing degree, it'll be easier to go to the nurse practitioner route. Whereas if they don't have a nursing degree, then they might go to the PA route. That's one way of looking at it. I'd also say that the schooling is a little different in that a PA school is, nursing. If you're going to nursing school and nurse practitioner school, you first become a nurse going through nursing school, which is very hard. And then again, you have to go through nurse practitioner school, which is also hard, also pretty hard, depending on the program. PA, you kind of just go to PA school, which is 2 to 3 years, but it's like next level hard, like extra hard. So the difference between those kinds of schooling might be a factor for you. At the end of the day, I think that the only thing that's important is what works for you, not what everyone else thinks is cool or works for them, or the reasons that they give. People will give a lot of opinions and tell you this one is better or that one's better, but the truth is there's pros and cons to both. You need to just sift through the information and find out what works for you. And if you do that, be true to yourself, and then you can decide. And there's no wrong option, but then you can figure out what you would like to do.